Good morning, Patricia. Good morning to everyone. Happy that we are now 80 participants, so it's already a big success. So thank you, Patricia. So I will moderate the first session, which is, as you presented already, setting the scene, EU initiatives to foster rural youth participation. We have 3 speakers, as you presented already. And I'm happy to start to give the floor to Marina Royo de Blas from DG AGRI, who will present the long-term vision for EU's rural areas and the place of youth in the long-term vision. So Marina, you have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having joined this morning. Here I am in Brussels, a bit cold morning. So I let my colleagues to present my presentation. Yes, exactly. So this first presentation is just to a bit frame what is the policy context of the organization of this good practice webinar. And I see some stakeholders that we usually work. So sorry for if you have gonna hear it again, but I will do it quite quickly because I don't wanna waste your time. So we start a bit with what is the EU long-term vision for rural areas in the next slide, where you can see it's a communication that it was adopted in 221 by the college, and it was in charge. It was tasked by the president to the vice president Dubravska in collaboration with the 2 commissioners, Janusz Wojciechowski in charge of agriculture and Lisa Ferreira in charge of cohesion and reforms. The next slide, as you can see a bit in this communication, we set these 4 blocks of actions with different elements. Today, I think we are moving in the stronger element, and is this empowered communities and access to service and social innovation. And what is also in this communication, these 4 blocks of action then translated in these 10 shared goals. How we arrive to these 10 shared goals, we do it, the Commission presents what is the Rural Action Plan, what is exactly what the Commission is doing to implement the vision, and also the Rural Pact, that is a framework for collaboration where other actors should intervene and act. So next slide. Here we see these 10 shared goals that they were developed bottom up with different stakeholders that are in the process of drafting of this communication. And I think today what is important here is this element of participation. That means goal 6 in terms of multi-level governance and these collaborative and participatory approaches. So I think today we are working on that. The next slide. The Rural Action Plan, what is the Commission is doing to implement the vision. We have 30 actions that they are being implemented by different Commission services. And here we see the 9 flagship. And I would like today to highlight this action under the stronger pillar, that is the action that our colleagues in EAC they will further develop, but just to understand a bit the framework, that is support education, training, youth sport and volunteering activities in rural areas, where we have the inclusion measures and their Erasmus and the European Solidarity Corps, as well as Goal 6 under the EU Youth Strategy, that is specifically moving youth forward, and the activities that they are developed under the Council of Europe Youth Partnership for rural youth. Exactly. And a bit of context of the Pact. Okay, the Pact is one of these 6 horizontal action under the Rural Action Plan, but it's the Commission was tasked to present and launch the Pact. But since then, since it was launched, the Pact has been gaining a lot of context. So next slide. Next. So what is the Pact? The Pact is a formal space and a framework to both cooperation between different levels of governance and between different actors. The Pact has been developed bottom up. That means there's been a whole work with different institutions and stakeholders, among them specifically for example, the European Rural Parliament, to develop the Pact. And here you can, what we present in this slide is a bit this proposal that was endorsed in the Rural Pact conference in 2022. Next slide, yes. So the Rural Pact has 3 objectives: is amplify the voice of rural areas, as well as to network and collaborate and mutual learning. So today I think we are going towards this objective and commit to act. Why? Because we arrived to the conclusion that this 10-share goal cannot be achieved alone, and they need to different actors and different levels to work towards them. Next slide, yes. In a nutshell, a bit, what is the community of the Rural Pact? The community of the Rural Pact, currently we have above 2,400 participants and members of the Pact, which over 100, 200 commitments, as well as this is a bit who's part of the Pact. We have public authorities, we have academia, business, civil society, also individuals. Next. And the Rural Pact, because we presented the Pact, but the commission was tasked with this facilitation. So we have the Rural Pact Support Office, who's in charge of facilitate and provide these facilitation services, and is network and information, and is the team you can see here, and is the team behind the organization of this good practice webinar. And then we have another structure that is this Rural Pact Coordination Group. I see members already of the coordination group who are here with us today, and the Rural Pact Coordination Group is a special group with institutional and stakeholders who's in charge of steering and giving these strategic elements to the Pact, because at the end the Pact is a process, it's in constant movement and it's building up. And finally, next slide. Yes, just to say that the last this last month the Commission adopted a report. A report is was adopted by the college, but it was on the implementation of the vision. That means what we have been doing these last years to implement the vision, and also to propose a bit of what are the questions for the future, for the next policy cycle. So as you can see, we have a first chapter of evidence, and then we look back at the 30 months of implementation. That there's been a huge work to condense and share what has been done horizontally about different commission services for rural areas, and as well these local forward elements for the next cycles of policies, where we a bit take a stock of what different institutions they have been how they've been reacting to the vision, and also what are the questions that we should answer for the next policy. And finally, well, I would like just to thank you very much, and I give you back the floor, Pascale, and happy to hear everyone's today contribution.
Thank you very much, Marina, for your quite detailed presentation on the long-term vision and the link with youth. I invite anybody to put remarks, questions in the chat about the different presentations that we will hear this morning. So now I'm proposing to ask the second speaker. I'm not sure that Babis is already available. So Alessandro Darsadia from the LAG Meuridania, you can take the floor to present or to talk about the Rural Pact Community Group.
But Babis is here.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, if you want, I'm here. I mean,
okay,
it's okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay, welcome, Babi. Sorry, I had a lot of information in my WhatsApp. So, Babis Papaioannou from DG AGRI, from the European Commission, Education, Youth, Sport and Culture. You are going to present the EU Youth Strategy 2019-2027, engaging, connecting, and empowering young people. So you have the floor. Present this strategy, Babis.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. Okay, so the PowerPoint is there, and I will present you what DG AGRI is doing, DG Education, Culture and Youth, in connection with rural areas, young people in rural areas, and especially under the EU Youth Strategy 2019-2027. Okay, so next, please. The general framework and the general guidelines is for us the EU Youth Strategy 2019-2027, and it is very clear, stated at the strategy document that there is a strong need and a strong guideline to connect with young people, youth workers, to cross-border mobility, to create cross-border mobility opportunities, volunteering actions, training actions, with a focus to young people with fewer opportunities. For us, the group of young people living in rural and remote areas are under this thematic priority of young people with fewer opportunities, because I can say, and this is a proof also coming from our researchers, that the most of the people that they benefit from the EU Youth Strategy and the programs on youth are people with urban background. So we need to, the guideline is to focus more on young people, youth workers, youth stakeholders from the rural areas. Next, please. So this is why we have European Youth Goal number 6, moving rural youth forward, and this is the framework, the practical framework that we have in connection with young people in rural areas. That means practically that through this priority, under the EU Youth Strategy, we're trying to ensure appropriate infrastructure in rural areas in order to provide a credible delivery of public services, data connectivity, and housing opportunity for young people, ensure that sustainable, high-quality jobs accessible to young people are created in rural areas, ensure the decentralization of different activities by, for, and with young people in order to support their inclusion and to benefit local communities, ensure that young people in rural areas are actively participating in decision-making processes, and this is a really important priority. Equal access to high-quality education for young people in rural areas, establish a positive image of rural areas, and ensure the protection of rural traditions. This is not just an important framework and a guideline for us. It is important to underline that this is the result of a debate, and these are proposals for young people, from young people. So these, and the Commission includes these proposals into the strategy, but these are proposals coming from young people, and especially young people from rural areas, and we are really happy for that. This framework is implemented from 2019 and until 2027, and probably for the practical question from your side, okay, this is a nice wording. This is really fine. We love young people in rural areas where we like to support them. We like to create opportunities, but practically what we're going to do, how a young person, a youth NGO, a youth worker, a youth stakeholder from rural and remote areas can benefit from European Youth Goals 6 or from the EU Youth Strategy. Next, please. And this is why under the Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps programs, we have the inclusion and the diversity strategy, where we are mentioning very clear that the programs, that means the funding opportunities for young people, have to include and to refer to young people living in remote and rural areas. This is the practical thing that we're doing. So through using this, and this is a reference for everyone who's involved into Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps. So using the programs, using the two basic EU programs on youth, Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps, can provide, or can create and support opportunities for young people living in rural and remote areas. Erasmus Plus is the program for trading, for mobility, for creating opportunities, not only in the education sector, because the Erasmus for students is more, let's say, visible, but the Erasmus Plus Youth is the action of Erasmus Plus, where you can find opportunities for creating infrastructures, creating networking with other countries, transfer of good practices, a lot of mobility actions, and a lot of transfer of good practice from country to country and from regions to regions. The European Solidarity Corps is the program connected with volunteering, and this is also an important priority and an important program, because a lot of projects are taking place and implemented in rural and remote areas around Europe. So through this program, young people have the opportunity not just to travel and to take part in a training activity or in a seminar for 1 or 2 weeks, as we're doing with Erasmus Plus, but European Solidarity Corps is focusing on long-term projects. So going for 6 months in another country for a period from 1 month until 1 year. So going for 6 months in another country, you have the opportunity to learn more, to work over there, to create contacts and networking with locals, and of course, to return back and to transfer and to adapt this knowledge and into your area. The European Solidarity Corps program is a nice opportunity, not only for people who are interested to move and to participate in a project until 1 year in another country, but also an opportunity to host events in rural and remote areas. And I can say that this is one of the priorities of both programs, to host projects in rural and remote areas. And this can be a nice opportunity not only to host some Europeans from other countries at your areas, but to promote your area, to promote the projects, to promote the traditions and the way of living in your rural areas. I can say that both programs are really active and on rural areas, and because now a week ago we published the interim evaluation of the EU Youth Strategy. We are really happy from the results, showing that a lot of projects and a lot of good practices are taking place in rural areas, but there are more opportunities, and there is a need to extend these good practices and to include and to invite young people and youth civil society organizations to participate in both programs. Next, please. An interesting tool that we are going to build now, this period, is a study on rural youth. So the Commission, in cooperation with the Council of Europe and under the EU Council of Europe Youth Partnership, is going to create a study for the opportunities for young people in rural areas. This study will be ready, I believe, at the end of 2025, and it will be a guideline for what to do for the next period, because at the same time, next year the DG AGRI will start the debate process for drafting the new EU Youth Strategy and the new generation of EU programs on youth after 2027. The study on rural youth will be also an important point for guiding us for how to improve the policies for young people in rural areas. And at the same time, as you probably know, the topic of rural youth is one of the thematic priorities of the coming Hungarian presidency in the EU. So around October, around the end of this year, but during the Hungarian presidency, we're going to present at the Youth Working Party, that means at the council in front of the governments of the member states, the first results, the first drafting and the first plans for the methodology for the coming study. Next, please. Finally, I would like to inform you about the European Youth Portal. It's our one-stop shop on youth policy issues. The European Youth Portal is a portal where you can find all the information that I mentioned, everything about the strategy, Erasmus+, European Solidarity Corps, EU Youth Dialogue, the European Youth Week, Discover EU, and all the opportunities for young people in rural and remote areas by the Commission. The European Youth Portal is available in all EU official languages, so it's very easy, accessible, and it's very easy to find updated information, not only about the policies and policy documents, but also a very active and updated calendar of events. So over there in the European Youth Portal, you can find coming events, and of course through the links of this post, it will be really easy to participate and to distribute also the information through your networks. This is more or less from our side. I can say, I can repeat that for us, the policies for rural youth is a priority under the strategy, and these are the tools that we're using in order to encourage and to support opportunities for young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Babis, for this broad framework of the different initiatives, policies which are taken by DG AGRI. It's quite motivating for all of the young people in rural areas. So a lot of initiatives, quite interesting, and also happy to see that after 27 it's already under preparation. So thank you very much for this collaboration with DG AGRI in this webinar. Also, if participants want to put reflections in the chat, please do not hesitate. I will give the floor now to our last speaker of this session, Alessandro D'Alsasia from LAG Meuridania, to present the Rural Pact Community Group on youth in rural areas, empowering the next generation. So, yeah. Alessandro, you have the floor.
Thank you, Pascal. Thank you so much for the floor. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Okay.
So thank you so much, and I'm happy to see that slowly the number of participants is increasing today, this morning. And so, yeah, I'm going to present the launch of the community group, Youth in Rural Areas, Empowering the Next Generation. This community group was established, okay, with the other two, with me, Alessandro from Meuridania, LAG in Italy, in Puglia region, and with other two important European stakeholders, such two big pan-European organizations as Rural Youth Europe in person of Spiros and Rural Youth Network in the person of Francisco. And the background of the idea of this community group, as we already suggested with other two speech, that they were before, we want to create with this community group, not just a group where to share ideas, but we want to create a real platform, a real room where to put in actions, where to transform the ideas, and the strategies, on the ground, And okay, sorry. And and we have, let's say, a big vision, you know, to renew the rural future driven by innovation and youth empowerment. And the mission, we don't want, as already said before, we don't want to mobilize just young people, youngsters, because the topic, you know, of youth participation, youth activism in rural areas, it's a topic and a problem, let's say, that needs to be addressed, you know, in local cluster, you know, local stakeholders and local actors that needs to share the topic, needs to share new ideas and new opportunities in rural areas, and of course in a wider framework, in a wider European framework. Okay, I won't repeat what you already said, but just to say that the community group aligns itself, you know, in a wider European strategies, such of course EU rural vision and EU youth strategies in specific case, in particular with youth goal number 6, which is moving rural youth forward, that works for us as a lighthouse, you know, that leads us, you know, in all our activities and actions. And so when we decided in the designing process, you know, of this community group, we were thinking, you know, of some objectives that could, you know, lead to concrete actions on the ground, you know, for the rural community and territories, of course, addressing youth participation. And we can summarize our objectives of this community group in 3 macro concepts, let's say, which is engage, connect, and empower. Of course, with this community group, we want to foster the collaboration and networks, local networks, but enhance them in a European, international level. We want to promote youth-led initiatives that address the specific challenges of rural areas. And as you already said, we want to support access to economic opportunities, because we know that in rural areas, you know, there's a lack of access in funding, European funding tools or alternative fundings, you know. So we need to spread these tools. We need to make them known to youth organizations, youth representatives, or youth and entrepreneurs. We want to increase the participation of young people in shaping policies and services. And we want to do all of these objectives by creating real actions, for example, training workshops, seminars and conferences, by spreading all the European tools that are putting in place, you know, for the youth in rural areas. But we want also as a tools, you know, to enhance their voices and their needs. And of course, we think that the first point about, you know, the participation and empowerment and activism of youth in rural areas is the starting point is to increase the awarenesses on rural youth challenges, you know, because most of the time, you know, these issues, these topics, you know, remain unclear, you know. And for example, as I told you, we have in the community group, there's you know, Professor Francisco with the youth network with you, and rural areas, especially in southern and Mediterranean regions, there's a big problem of needs youth, you know, and we need to raise these the awarenesses about this problem. And we also set down, you know, the activities. We planned some activities that we want to carry out with community group, and of course we want to create a series of webinars, you know, in the partnership, of course, under the Rural Pact. And this one, the today webinar, is the first one, so it's the launch of the community group. But we want to plan to carry on with these activities. And so starting from the awareness of the challenges that the rural youth face, you know, we want to improve, to enhance, and to foster, you know, an ecosystem of opportunities for young and for youth in rural areas. But as we said already, the problem and the issue, the topic of rural, you know, youth participation and youth empowerment is not a problem and an issue that could be pushed just by youth, but we need to create a local cluster, of course, of different and wider local stakeholders, such public administration, private sector, NGOs, civil society organization, and education and training institution, all together, working by enhancing, the youth participation. And we want to create an open list of potential projects and funding opportunities, because we already said the youth in rural areas, most of the time, they don't even know that there are some European funding tools that could, enhance their activities. They could enhance their reality. And most of the time, they don't know that. And so we need actually to share all the tools that European Union put in place. And so, of course, we need to go into youth initiative and innovation, and we have to gather, to collect ideas, but it could lead, to a concrete action, to concrete projects that could be implemented, in our rural territories, in our rural communities. We plan, some activities in this community group. For example, for instance, we want to carry on with your online fair of innovative ideas, or it could be also like work as a hackathon, for example, where young people, younger representatives, can promote and share the initiative to a wider audience, also international audience, of course, European audience. And of course, the main problem is also, the representatives, of the representativity of youth in rural areas. And within this community group, we want to foster, the policy changes and service improvements. And so we want to raise the voices, we want to raise the needs of the youth, rural youth people in rural areas. For example, organizing a conference or panel supported always by Rural Pact to discuss and propose policy changes to address suggestions that could work as a recommendation for policy makers to a local level and to a national and, of course, European level. And also, the idea, because then the point is how to enhance, the youth participation. We should promoting the youth entrepreneurship. We also said that before in the ice-breaking activities. One of the main problems was the lack of access in fundings, alternative funding such European tools or other alternative funding, such, for example, there's the crowdfunding tools. But the youngsters in rural areas, most of the time, they don't know that there are these kind of tools. And but of course, if we want to revitalize the rural areas, we need to start from and restart. We need to address our policies and our action toward the youth and entrepreneurship, because of course the problem, the topic of rural youth is also linked to other wider problem of rural areas, for example, the depopulation, which is another topic that is already been addressed by the Rural Pact in another webinar, like another event last year. So, but we know that in the rural areas there are a lot of case studies. For example, today we are going to listen and to be in touch, with compelling experiences about rural participation and activism. But most of the time, these case studies, these good experiences remain, alone. They don't have the power. They don't have the power to bring their experience, bring their voices to an upper level, let's say. And for example, we plan to carry on and to create a series of podcasts where to collect these good practices, these experiences, featuring like testimonials from rural entrepreneurs. And because, for example, also I'm talking about the European tools, as we said, okay, also the Erasmus Plus. but there is also the Erasmus Plus for youth entrepreneurs, which is and also another good and important tools, you know, for youth entrepreneurs or youngsters that want to be entrepreneurs in rural areas. This is a very good tool that most of them don't know, but it could, you know, improve their activity. And so just to
Alessandro, we must close.
It's last one. It's last slide.
Okay.
Last slide.
Thank you for your motivation anyway.
Sorry. So what we want to do, so again, with this community group, we found this motto, turning discussions into concrete action. So collaborate, contribute, and make a difference. So don't let these good experiences, these good case studies, just, you know, in an idea, in ideal part, but let's turn them into the ground, you know, in our activity of people that works, you know, in on the ground in rural developments. And this community group that could also work, not just as a place where to share ideas, but also where to create, for example, projects with with the youngsters from rural areas, with a wider European network. So I finished. So please join the community group, and let's share and let's continue, you know, with this with the topic of rural youth in rural areas, empowering the next generation.
Thank you very much, Alessandro.
Sorry for the.
No problem. But we have to continue with the other sessions. But we are sure that the Rural Pact Community Group will contribute to scale the existing initiative. So and thank you for your invitation to the participants to join the group. I will stop here this session and pass the floor to my colleague Patricia for the next session on learning from inspirational projects and practices.